Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Welcome to Screamplay, a show about spooky video games. With your hosts, Tom and John Ryman. Yeah, how do we start the show? One of us starts talking. We say, "Hey, everybody!"
Who are you?
What?
Where am I? What is this?
It's time for Screamplay,
What?
the show about spooky video games.
Who? I don't think
I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Ryman.
And I think I am another co-host, John Ryman. Oh, I can't recall for sure.
I should have read the title of the episode.
You should have. You don't even know what we're doing.
I don't. Who am I? What is this?
I think we might have Amnesia?
I didn't understand what you were doing at first.
Okay. Oh, man. But yes, guys, welcome to Screenplay. And as our witty banter let you guys know, we are talking about Amnesia today.
So you picked this one. I picked last month's episode game. You picked this month's game. So why did you pick Amnesia? What is this game?
Oh man, Amnesia is a 2010 first-person survival horror game from Frictional Studios. That's a Swedish company. They also made games like Soma and the other Amnesia games. And it's wonderful series. I love it with all my heart. And as a horror fan, I think we had a responsibility, nay, duty, to talk about this game.
Fair enough. Well, continuing in that line of duty, listen, we're gathered around here. We've just woken up in a oppressively stone Prussian castle. We don't know what the hell's going on.
Wipe the sleep out of my eyes.
It's dark. Grinding our teeth, just terrified of the dark. In the meantime, why don't you tell me a scary story?
Tom, I've got a scary story for you. Well, again, the 2010 survival horror game Amnesia, you play Daniel, a young British aristocrat, and you wake up in Castle Brennenburg, a small castle in Prussia. The year is 1839. The only thing, though, that you can remember is that your name is Daniel and that you are from Mayfair, which is kind of an upscale neighborhood in London. You find a letter from yourself to yourself explaining why you have amnesia, and it turns out that you chose to drink this potion that gave you amnesia because you could not deal with the past and what done. Or what has transpired. The only thing that you do know, or that your future self is telling you, is that trust me, you don't want to remember this stuff. And also, there's a guy in the inner sanctum named Alexander, the Baron of the castle. He's the cause of all your grief, and you need to go kill him. And Daniel embarks on a quest through the castle to get to the inner sanctum in the castle's bowels and kill Alexander. During the way, you encounter monsters shambling through the castle, which were victims of torture and experimentation at the hands of Alexander. Now they're just kind of mindless horrors that will terrify you if you see them and begin to chip away at your already dwindling sanity. Being in the dark for too long also reduces your sanity because Daniel is pants-shittingly afraid of the dark.
He really is, to a crippling degree.
To a crippling degree.
He should be embarrassed. All right.
When my son was 3 years old, he was less afraid of the dark than Daniel was. But as you go through, you pick up letters and diary entries detailing the background of this castle, of Alexander, and of yourself. And it turns out that Alexander had been experimenting on nearby villagers to extract this energy force, I guess, called Vitae. And the only way that you can get Vitae is by terrorizing and causing fear and pain in a living thing. People, of course, yielding the most Vitae. So you find out that he...
Isn't that always the way?
Yes. So you find out that he was actually mining Vitae or, harvesting Vitae from these people, and you find out that you are actually a villain as well. You were the Carl to his Hans Gruber. Daniel had actually found an orb in Algeria on a archaeological dig. And by taking that orb, he was cursed by this entity called the Shadow, which pursues you throughout the castle, and who Alexander had promised Daniel, if he gave him service, he would help him rid himself of this shadow. We're going to talk more about the plot because I'm interested in what you came up with, Tom. But that's pretty much the short and skinny of Amnesia. And we'll divulge more plot points as we go on, but that's pretty much the short and skinny of it.
Yeah, that's a bone chiller, real spine tingler. Thanks for that scary story.
Real tingling those spines on that one.
Yeah. Well, we're strolling up. We're strolling up the lane to Vincent Price's house.
What ho? Is there a light on?
It seems like there might be.
Could it be? Is it true? Is it Vincent?
I think he's here. So it's time to check into Spookaboo Manor. Now I invite you to step inside Spookaboo Manor.
And folks, this is the section where we focus on the horror of the game, the story aspects, etc. And Amnesia, being kind of horror game royalty, is chock full of that stuff. But Tom, I really liked, because this was your first time playing it through?
Yeah. This is my first time playing it all the way through. I had gotten this initially back when it first came out in 2010.
That,
yeah. And so I guess I'll just go ahead and do my little Spookaboo Manor riff first, because this kind of goes right into that. This game stressed me the fuck out. This game stressed me out so badly, it took me 13 years to finish it.
Did you get it when it came out?
Right about, yeah. Within the first year. I had it on PC initially, and then I got the PS4 collection that they put out, which is what I played it on this time. Yeah. But on PC, I only played it up to a point, and this game was kind of the first of this new wave of horror games that were coming out around that time, where they were more stealth, where you didn't have any offensive abilities. You just have to hide and run. So there was another game around the same time that came out called Outlast, and then obviously Alien Isolation.
I think Outlast
there's been
came out a little bit after this one, I want to say.
It was like 2012, but there was all around like the early 2010s. This was kind of like a new style of horror game that was getting really popular. So playing Amnesia, I was just like so tense. It was one of the most stressful experiences I had playing a game, so I would keep playing it and then putting it down and not coming back to it for a couple of years. And the funny thing about that is Amnesia isn't really one of those games. It's
the best. It's the most ultimate game of I'm not touching you that I've ever experienced.
Right. It makes you psych yourself out. Like, it presents itself like it's going to be just like Alien Isolation or Outlast, where you're going to be spending like constantly running and hiding and stuff. But there's really only about there's less than 10 enemy encounters in this entire game. Like, you don't see the first monster. Depending on how long it takes you to tiptoe through these halls, and let me tell you, the first time I played this game, I was so fucking spooked, just like expecting monsters at any corner, that it took me hours to get through the first part of the game that, this time around took me maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, the ambient music and sounds don't help either. It sounds like this droning wail or groan, and it's just like the wind blowing through the castle, but it's constantly keeping you just needling you in the back and just reminding of what might happen.
I'm glad you mentioned the music. I did want to get to that, but like I'll just go ahead and talk about it now. Like, the music in this game is it's the most sinister fucking score. Like, I literally, having this game like looming over me for so long, like hearing the main title theme, like the boom boom boom, it's like these low droning minor keys that are I have like a stress response to that when I hear it. Like, it immediately makes me start feeling anxious. So like like the music in this game is fucked up.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I think Dead Space did this a little bit, where they had like most of the there was no real music in some parts, but they just let like the ship and the sounds from the ship make its own soundtrack. They kind of do that in this, like I was saying, because it's like it's supposed to be like wind, you're like gusts of air going through the castle, and it just sounds like this low groan or like wail or something like that. It's just so off-putting that I was just like, could you guys stop with that?
Right, there's never a moment of peace.
No.
There's no respite in this game, which is funny, because the initial kind of point I was making before we started talking about the music was that you really actually do have quite a bit of respite in this game. The game is just doing such a good job of making you think that you don't.
Yeah.
Like, it really is like a state fair haunted house for most of it. Like, it's like, okay, we don't have that. We only got 3 guys. So they all got to share one mask. So we got to really stretch this. We got to spend most of the time just making scary noises and playing the Monster Mash, which is what this is, like, basically what it is. 90% of the spookiness of this game is just ambiance. Yeah. It's just you psyching yourself out about what could be around the next corner. And the reality is most of the areas in this game do not have monsters in it.
No, it's mostly just like a puzzle game.
And that's, I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next section. But yeah, this is very much a point-and-click adventure game that's just been transferred into first person.
Yeah.
It's all about the puzzles. But yeah, in terms of spookiness for our little... Our conversation in the foyer of Spookaboo Manor. Goddamn, this is a stressful ass game. But having played their later game Soma, which I love, and coming back to this game to Amnesia after having played Soma, and now I kind of know what their game is. It's the same deal in Soma. There's like 5 enemies in the entirety of Soma.
Right.
So like coming back to this game now. This playthrough where I actually finished it for this podcast, I wasn't nearly as stressed out as I had been in the past playing this game. But I feel like in order for me to give my like honest assessment of how scary this game is, I have to include like how I felt when I initially played it and didn't know anything about the developers, didn't know anything about like kind of what their aim was for this series, and really kind of having this be the first game of this type of horror game that I played. This game is scary as fuck. Like for the longest time, I held this up as one of the scariest games I had ever played. Just because it stressed me out so much, I could only play it for a little bit at a time and would have to put it down.
Right.
And like go shoot demons in Doom or something. You know, it's like go do something mindless that doesn't. Doom's not scary at all. The demons are scared of me in that game. So yeah, I hand the keys to Spooky Boo Manor over to you.
Thank you very much. So this is, as a horror fan, I love this series with all my heart. All 4 of them. And
I've only played this one, so that's interesting. Sorry.
Man, they're all good. They all connect. They all have this like really deep story. Like when we were in Tell Me a Scary Story, I could have like literally have gone on like an hour and tell you about like everything that was happening in this.
I could tell, yeah.
Because I was like, no, I had to bring myself back to reality. I had to snap out
and reel yourself back in, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I got in too deep. I was in too deep.
You're giving one of those like Tom Cruise responses when they ask him what his favorite movie is. He's like, film and cinema, and he just goes on for like, anyway.
Then he's talking about like a curry he had in London one time and how that was a transcendent experience. So he ordered 2 and it was news over there. But I love this game. I love this game so much. And like I was saying, it's the best game of I'm not touching you that I've ever played.
It is like a haunted house, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll stop interrupting. I'm not supposed to interrupt.
That's okay. I interrupted you a couple times. This is supposed to be a conversation, Tom. And conversations are two-way. It's not a lecture.
Unlike the conversation between you and Alexander in this game,
yes.
Boy, he's not given an inch.
Well, I mean, like, Daniel's kind of not giving an inch either. But
it's true.
The director on this game, Thomas Grip, the very, very Swedish man, was just like, yes, so we didn't have a lot, so we were just like, well, why don't we make the players scare themselves, okay? And
that's such a good idea.
It really is.
Like, because you get like it really is like going through a haunted house. You get to the end of it and you kind of feel a little bit embarrassed of yourself. You're like, man, I really did. Like, there wasn't really that many monsters in here. I was really jumping at shadows for most of the time.
Well, they also hype it up really, really well. And like, this is going to be the scariest thing you've ever played. You better put those headphones on. And they even have like a achievement or trophy called Nope, where you just like stop playing the game immediately.
Yep. And
they do so well at just like psyching you out, and then just through like the music, the eeriness of the game, the story which is really intricate. It's like playing through a Victorian Gothic horror novel.
It really is. Yeah, I wanted to just pause real quick and just go back to what you said about how I had forgotten that the game does that. Like, when you start a new game, it's like, turn down the lights and put on your headphones. Like, it's such a fucking...
It's such a Todd McFarlane opening. You're actually scared of it.
It's such like a Castle Pictures thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, this, like, put on like fucking 13 Ghosts bullshit. Like, really telling us you're about to get scared to death. It's like some Crypt Keeper shit. Like, I didn't realize it's, oh man. Like, of course it's that. Like, I don't know why I just like, as I just took it for granted when I saw it. I didn't think about it at all. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, better maximize the fear of this game, because like plenty of other games do that and they're not fucking with you. But like, this was such a Carnival Barker thing to do.
That's what Frictional is for this game. It's just the best Carnival Barker in the business.
Yeah,
because they had
we had 3 guys and 1 mask, so we got to make this work.
They knew that there was a lighting dynamic that they wanted to use, but they weren't exactly sure on how to use it. So they came up with this, fear meter. And like I said, Daniel is pants-shittingly afraid of the dark. Cannot stay in the dark for more than like 2 seconds before he starts wetting his pants.
Getting like seasick, like your vision gets blurry, it's hard to stand up, and like I alluded to at the beginning of the episode, if it gets, you won't die,
you'll just turn
directly
into the Senator Kelly at the end of the X-Men movie, where you're just like a puddle on this.
You just fall over, and if there's any enemies around, they will beat you to death.
Yeah, they beat you to death, yes, but like, really nothing happens to you unless there's like a bad guy around. You just like stand back up after a little while. But
where it becomes a problem is if you're trying. Anyway.
Yeah, where it becomes a problem is like if you're trying to hide in the dark and there's like a monster George Jeffersoning his way around,
or when you're getting chased, because it makes you slow too. When you're scared of the dark,
I think they run slightly faster than you as well. So it's just like they're going to slowly gain on you, so you can't run from them forever.
Yeah, I do remember a section where I was running from the shadow, and it got me because I was running I was running about as fast as I walked, and I just wasn't thinking about it. I didn't have my lantern out, so the next time I reloaded to have my lantern out, and I ran much faster, and I beat it. So it does make you slow down to the point of where you're just kind of anyway.
And yeah, touching on that, there is a lantern mechanic where you can pull out your lantern at any time. But it's like, they'll tell you, but it'll alert enemies and people will see you. And it's just, okay. Well, like Tom said, there's about 5 guys at this haunted house.
Right.
So
there's nobody in here. So they really psych you out about like using the lantern and using the matches, the tinder boxes you find to light candles and lanterns in the hallway. Like, there's only a limited amount, so be choosy with it, but they fucking cram these things.
Yeah, 1,000 matchsticks is technically a limit, but it's not. It's like I ended up at the end of the game, I think I had like 20 matches and like a full lantern. I was just being so miserly with it. I was about to say the exact word, miserly with it. I'm like, but what if they see me? Motherfucker, who? There's no one here.
There's nobody in this castle. There's like 5 monsters.
But yeah, it's it really is just the game psyching you the fuck out, and the writing is really good. So like you're reading it. Not only are you in the dark, but you're reading these creepy ass stories in the dark. And
that music, man, punishing you while you're reading these. For some sequences, I told you this while I was playing it this time through, but I literally had the Beverly Hills Cop theme, Axel F. I'd put it on for stretches of it just so I wouldn't get as stressed out.
I've done that sometimes in horror games with Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'll be playing like September or like Let's Groove. And that's quite the juxtaposition in this game. Monsters are not a fan. Shambling monsters are not a fan of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I don't know. They look like they might be.
Yeah, they do. They do shuffle around a lot.
Yeah, they got some ants in their pants.
When I said George Jefferson earlier, if you guys don't know who that is, just go look up George Jefferson walk on YouTube. That's how these guys like move around. It's but
they're doing they're doing like the early 2000s like kind of shuddering movement, like you guys know.
Yeah, you guys know, and it looks objectively silly, but when you're playing this game the first time and you don't know what these monsters are going to do to you, the first time I watched you play this, first time we saw a monster, he shuffled around a corner and you just looked at me and I looked back at you and you turned off the game. It's like, we're not dealing with that right now.
It's the way it all comes together, though. Yeah. The presentation of it, like the monster. We're laughing a lot about this game just because of, but for all the reasons we've explained. But like, it really is so effective how they do it. They pull it off. They make you scared of empty rooms.
Well, we're laughing constantly because it's like going to see a good horror movie and getting the wits scared out of you, and you come out there laughing like, oh man. Did that get you? That got me. It's because it's just fun, and they set it up, and it's like a prank they're playing on you in this game.
Right. It's it's standing at the top of the stairs and being afraid to go into the basement, and then you get down to the bottom of the stairs. You turn on the light, and you're like, there's nothing in here. I was being a big scaredy cat. It's like the whole game is pretty much that.
Once you get
with the occasional monster,
it's like being at the end of your run, and the last leg of your run is like a hill climb, and you're just like looking at it, you're like, ugh. That's kind of like what this is, like going into a new room. Like when you're reading because you need to go into the wine cellar for a certain chemical in order to proceed through the game. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go in the wine cellar. Well, you also pick up an entry where it says that Alexander had locked a bunch of mercenaries in the wine cellar and fed them poison that turned them inside out. So they may or may not be monsters. Okay, go in the wine cellar now. And it's like, God damn it.
Yeah, it's a real Evil Dead 2 moment.
Yeah, so I buried her in the wine cellar. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
But by that point, it's already too late. You're already down there, and you're already far in there. And they will sometimes, like, you know, do like one of their howling, like, in the background for you. So, but also another point about this game is like the talking about the respite, they will despawn after a while. The monsters, like if they see you and you have an encounter with them, if you go hide, they'll despawn. Now it took me maybe like 2 or 3 encounters to figure that out. It does not lessen the scare of seeing these guys, but it did it did feel like sliding into home plate. Like, oh, I'm safe.
It does. It's still tense in the moment, but once you figure that out, it does alleviate a lot of the stress of the game, where you know it's like, okay, if I can just hide from this thing for a little bit, it doesn't even need to see you. You just need to see it.
Yeah.
And once like the game is aware that you are aware of the monster, or sometimes one will randomly spawn after you do a thing, and you just, the way you know that is you'll hear like a roar,
like
which is almost, it's almost kind of funny. Yeah, the music starts. Oh man, the music is the real fucker of this game. God damn it, the music. The
music, the just low light. Oh shit.
Man, I can't say that. The score the score just punishes you. But yeah, as soon as you notice the monster, all you need to do is hide from it for about a minute or two, and then the music, that intense ass music, very clearly stops, and then you know the monster's gone. So once you figure that out, it does give you a little bit of relief.
He's not going to come back. Yeah, they don't come back. He is gone from the level. You do not have to deal with him anymore.
There are some that don't, though.
There are some that don't. That is true.
Like that invisible monster, he doesn't despawn.
Oh, fuck that guy.
You just got to run from him.
Fuck that guy. There's no respite in that basement.
That might be the scariest part of the game, where you have to run from this invisible monster in the water.
Good Lord, yes.
Yeah. That's the most stressful. It's just the games figured this out, and they've just been leaning on it ever since. I remember the first one that did it that I played was Condemned 2, where you get chased by a mutated bear through a cabin.
Yeah, some rabid bear or whatever it is, and the prompt just says run.
Just says run, yeah. Or in Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, with the fish police chasing you.
Yeah.
It's just there's nothing you can do in a video game that is as primally and viscerally intense as just chasing you. Like the feeling of being chased. You can't not feel some amount of panic, even though like I'm aware I'm playing a video game and I'm not really going to get eaten by a monster. It's just when you have no recourse but to run from this thing, and it really is just a race to see if it can hawk you down or not. That is just genuinely intense in a way that like a jump scare is, where you just can't help but be startled by it. But this is just like elongated, but not elongated, but like drawn out panic.
Yeah.
Like that's why Alien Isolation stresses me out so much. It's just like that being chased by this fucking thing. I hate it.
Oh,
so yeah. There's that stress where you get that section where you get chased by that invisible monster is just.
Well, in the section right before that, with the invisible monster, where like you're in this flooded basement, the monster will only attack you if you're in the water. But again, it's a flooded basement, so like you have to stand on top of boxes. You can pick up boxes and throw them and stuff, but you have to go into separate rooms to like pull switches and get this door to open, and then you're timed until you're timed. Like when you pull the switch, you can hear the door start to shut again, so you have to get over there quickly while this thing is just splashing at you in the water. And it is super duper nerve wracking. And when you have to turn that goddamn wheel to open the door, and you have to stand in the water in order to do it, and pray that he's been distracted by the limbs of dead people you've thrown in this. God, this game is crazy.
You can throw like torsos and stuff in the water, and it'll just start eating it. You're like, all right, well, Glad I can't see whatever that looks like.
Yeah, like we're saying, like, oh, there's no monsters in this thing that scare. No, in this level, there is a fucking monster.
Yeah, it's very
It is a fucking monster.
Total monster.
And
then they psych you out with them. Like, there's another section where you're in the sewers and you have to run through this huge water section, and you the whole time you're waiting for this thing, and they fucking know you're waiting for it too.
Because they do the splashing, like when you're up on the side, like the
they'll play noises of it, but it's not actually in the level.
No.
This game is so like mean like that.
Thomas Griff is just laughing. Haha, you are big babies, yes? You are the big chickens.
Look at these chickens with their feathers.
Get out of here, babies.
Get out of here, babies. Yes, I think you knows it.
Yeah, I think you knows this. But I love the combination of Gothic literature and H.P. Lovecraft. It's like goth H.P. Lovecraft kind of. Because
you haven't mentioned that aspect of it yet. So yeah.
So yeah, because this all has to do with like another world where Alexander Brennenberg is from. And Tom, when you were like talking to me on text about where you thought the story was going, it was fascinating.
Oh yeah. Listen, my interpretation, like I haven't played any of the other games.
You might not be wrong.
But I will say
when I solely on Alexander and what was going on with him.
I really did, yeah.
I was like, well, what about Daniel? Like, he's incidental. Like, almost.
He kind of is.
Yeah.
Like the big reveal that Daniel's like, oh, the reason I lost my memory is because I was helping Alexander torture people. Yeah, we kind of figured that out.
Yeah.
I did think the reveal was a little lackluster. But anyway, yeah. Tell me more about this cosmic shit.
Oh well, yeah. They're all from the and they talk a little bit more about the other world from this, but you can ascertain because they talk about what's his name, the apostate, in some of these writings that you find, who was this scholar or scientist from this other world, which is like an alternate dimension with. The beings look like us. They look like humans. They might be humans just from a different dimension, but they have like advanced science, and it's kind of like advanced science or magic or whatnot. And this substance they came up with, Vitae, is essentially like for them is like an endless energy resource that they can just mine. And it's kept Alexander alive for centuries. But Alexander is apparently a scientist or scholar of sorts from this outer world who did something to piss off the people in charge over there, and he was actually banished to Earth without a way to get home. So what he's trying to do, his sphere or orb, which can act as a gateway in between here and there, broke. So he's trying to find a new one. Yeah. He's trying to find a new one. I broke my orb.
Just Alexander fucking weeping like a kid who broke his fire truck. I broke my orb.
I was in mint condition.
Throwing his fancy books around.
Yeah. But so he has to power these. Daniel. He has to power these spheres up with this Vitae, in order to, get the portal to open up so he can go home. He's trying to get back home. And he is throughout the centuries he has enlisted help from other people, like this guy named Agrippa, who you run into in the basement, who is apparently a talking corpse, but can talk to you because he's also telepathic, which kind of leads me to believe he might be from the same dimension, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, here's the thing. He's a real guy.
He is.
There's two people they mention. Is this guy Agrippa, I think, and then there's another guy, Johann Weyer, and they're both real people.
Yeah, he was an occultist, an occult writer, rather. Agrippa was,
yeah, and Weyer was another guy who also dealt in witchcraft, but he was more like
they were both like I think more scholarly than like actual like
yes, yeah. He was a guy that was like during the witch trials of like the 18th century or maybe the 17th century was like no, there's no such thing. Like witchcraft is an impossible crime because there's no such thing as magic. Like he was one of the first people to be saying, no, these people are like mentally ill. Right. If anything, if they're not just the victims of hysteria, like if they're actually displaying some sort of behavior, it's probably mental illness.
And people are like, hey, stop ruining our fun.
Shut up. Yeah. Like, oh, he's a witch. Yeah. Like, God damn it.
Hey, guy, TV hasn't been invented yet. This is the best we got. So
yeah, it's interesting to me that they picked two real people. That anyway.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. But the overarching thing in these games is like the Vitae and how it's like this power source. And if it's imbibed or taken in by somebody from that realm, it will lengthen their life. If it's taken by somebody in this realm, you turn to a shambling doofus in a castle. So, there's that through line in all four of the games, with the Vitae and
I gotcha.
People like obsessing over it and the other world and how it's been communicating since like with us since back past Roman times. But they've been it's like the alien theory, they come in every once in a while to these major civilizations and fuck with them or something like that.
Sure.
Like the Romans having bacchanalias and sacrifices and orgies and shit to appease these gods or to try to like harness their power and abilities and stuff. But Alexander was the real thing in this game, so I think I've gotten enough of that.
I think that's.
I think I've gotten enough of that. When you start trailing off like that, I think it's a good time to stop.
Yeah, I just love one thing I wanted to add to that is like looking at the Wikipedia because I had my own theory, which I'll explain briefly in a second.
And your theory about Alexander, it could be correct.
It could be correct. But I hopped over to the wiki of this game and discovered that what you had mentioned a minute ago, that there is just an expansive lore to this game that I did not expect.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's like an otherworld empress. There's like a whole thing.
It's like a whole fucking thing.
It's a whole thing.
It's like an anime. Like it's got like all of this lore and like it's
dude,
like this fully fleshed out thing, man. It's a whole ass thing.
Yeah, play the game. It's really good.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to. I gotta see what else is going on in this wacky world. I thought Alexander was literally Alexander the Great. Like I thought, and he could be. I guess I thought Alexander the Great had found one of the orbs during his conquests, and he had used it to get to the other world. And so, they didn't like him. They banished him because he's a power hungry conqueror. Just because there's a lot of like classical art and vases and like literature and stuff all throughout the castle. It doesn't seem to make sense that it would be in a Prussian castle. It's the fact that they had the two real guys, Agrippa and Veyr. I was like, oh, so maybe Alexander is also a real guy who's the most famous Alexander the Great. And it just, I don't know. I thought maybe all three of these guys had found the orbs. Alexander got over there.
He did do a lot of poking around in Algeria, I think, or at least North Africa.
Northern Africa, yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe so anyway, my own stunted historical understanding of Alexander. And then he just has spent, like, he tried to experiment with his own orb to get back, because obviously he has somebody he loves over there, but he fucking broke it, so he's been trying to collect...
His cat or something.
Well, whoever it is.
Need to feed the cats.
It's his fucking Corvette. It's like his car that he wants to get back to.
He's just like, oh, sweet baby, starts rubbing it with a diaper or something like that. No, you have to be gentle. Could scratch the clear coat.
It's a fucking kegerator he wants to get back to, because Alexander was a drunk. Yeah, so he finds these other real guys and who have also found orbs, and he's able to imprison Agrippa, but we learn that Veyer actually is in the other world. So he like escapes. So that's why Alexander's like reaching out to Daniel to convince him to bring him Daniel's orb. And then he swaps Daniel's orb for his own shattered one, I think is what happens.
Well, he takes the
one that Daniel initially finds.
I don't know if you read some of the stuff where like he's just like kind of like talking to Agrippa. He's like, this Daniel guy's kind of, his cheese is starting to slide off his cracker. I don't know if I can trust him anymore. So like he takes your orb and then locks himself down in the inner sanctum so he can complete his experiment because he doesn't trust you anymore. And why would you?
Why would you? I'm a little crazy man. I'm about to drink a forget me now.
Yeah, you chased a child down and murdered her in the storage room.
Just like Job trying to force feed Michael.
Yeah, love us again.
Love us again.
Look at Banner, Michael.
Yeah, I think we can
Banner,
probably...
Alexander.
Look at Banner, Daniel. That's pretty much what it was. So yeah, I thought he was Alexander the Great, and I guess he could still technically be. It all works out. I just figured they were all mortals who had found orbs on the Earth, and there's at one point they said the orb has appeared throughout classical history as a symbol of kings. So I was like, oh, that's another hint towards Alexander. So yeah, that was just my own theory about the game. It's nowhere near anywhere in the wiki that I found. I don't know, so it's probably not true at all, but that's just
that's an interesting
how I interpreted
thought.
The story.
What also like an interesting thing with the games is they all take place during different time periods as well. So, I mean, we might see one set back in the way back days because they are, mentioned as to visiting the Aztecs or Mayans or something like that. That's talked about in the Machine for Pigs. But yeah. Wealth of knowledge. So wealth of knowledge. Well, I'm just talking about you could possibly rewrite, and we could even maybe see something like that in the future. I actually think if you set one back in the BCE, that would be even more frightening.
Yeah, that would be pretty chill. Actually,
put that shit in a pyramid. Ugh. Well, I think it's time that we bid adieu.
We overstayed our welcome in Spookaboo Manor. Vincent's getting a little...
It's my bedtime.
It's time for me to put on my slippers. So let's shuffle on outside and let Vincent Price get up to bed.
Yeah. Well, let's
go out back.
Give him a kiss goodnight, and then let's go out back and...
smooch him on his waxy forehead.
Yeah. He likes it when you tuck him in.
Start poking around in the boneyard.
Oh, yes. Let's poke around indeed.
Perhaps now we should go traipsing through the boneyard.
This is where we talk about the gameplay of the game.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to? Sure.
I actually really like the gameplay of this game because, for what it is, they're just like, all right, you're in a big escape room. Is really what it is. And
that's true. I had said point and click adventure earlier, but that is a great way to contextualize the experience of a point and click adventure game to modern audiences who maybe didn't grow up playing them. Yeah, it is like an escape room. Basically.
It's just a big escape room with a very intricate and thought out lore. The game, there not a lot of rooms look that different from each other, which is kind of used to their advantage because you can be disoriented. Where am I? Well, you're in a hallway with stone.
There's no map either.
Yeah, there's no map, and you're just I've got a good sense of direction, so I was able to keep track of where I was most of the time. But there's no map. There's no. It's just all about you figuring shit out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That can get to a point where it becomes kind of obtuse, but I think most of the time, and this is something they do with, and they actually put at the very beginning of the new one, the bunker. They're there are multiple ways to solve puzzles in this. If you think you can do it, you probably can. Just try things out. And that's what this game is. I think there was one part where you're in the cistern and I got stuck here for a while on my first playthrough. Where like, and I thought like you, I thought it had glitched out because I think you had come to me on the same area and thought it had glitched. But you pull all these switches and this bridge drops halfway down. It just stops. I was like, what the fuck? And I thought it was like at first I was like, well, there must be another lever. And then you just start looking around, there isn't anything else. I'm like, how is this supposed to get down here? And then I just start like brainstorming, and I pick up a rock and I throw it up there, and it, sure enough, putting extra weight on there just made the thing fall all the way down so I could use it. And this game has a ton of that kind of stuff in here where you can, they don't tell you, okay, this is a puzzle. You just find, oh, this must be a puzzle. How do I solve it? And it's...
They do most of the time. When you encounter something that you need to find some tool or item to proceed, you'll get a little notification and you'll hear scribbling that's like, Daniel has jotted down a note. And then you can look at your notes and it will tell you a list of what you need to do. So it does sort of tell you most of the time when there's a puzzle, but it doesn't all the time. Like with that bridge shit you just mentioned, like the cistern I thought was really frustrating in this game.
Yeah, that was frustrating. The choir got a little frustrating.
The choir was massive. I got lost in there, even though it does show you at the very beginning to look at the pipe and follow the pipe.
Right. Also, like, you just follow the wall.
But I wanted to get all the items, so I was just wandering around like an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any other items that you wouldn't find just by doing what I did. But I don't know. Like the first time I went through there, I was just kind of wandering around too, and I was in there and just kept triggering monster encounters. I'm like, God damn it!
There's a lot of monsters in the choir if you wander around like a dickhead like I did.
Yeah. And you don't see them either. If you trigger them, they spawn randomly. If you like step on the right brick or something.
So like just mosey around this corner, maybe not.
Yeah. So if you're like stumbling around like Mr. Magoo, you're gonna get mugged by these guys.
Yeah. I wish they did just do that.
Yeah.
Oh, they took my stuff!
Yeah. Daniel has lost his wallet.
Right, yeah, the game over screen comes up. They've taken your stuff.
Yeah.
Your stuff is gone.
They have Daniel's credit card information now.
Yeah, there's just, that's the classic. I can't fault the game too hard for that because it's very much an old school point and click adventure game,
right?
Which I love. I love those games so much.
Too,
yeah, just growing up playing them, so they will always be I'll always have a sort of nostalgic feeling for them. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I like playing
Telltale games because that's exactly what they are.
Exactly. Yeah, I like playing game. I like playing games that are story first. It's not necessarily my favorite or the only kind of game that I play, but I do really appreciate games that are just story first like these games are. But hand in hand and part and parcel with that essentially is the obtuse puzzles, right? Like if you're at all familiar with adventure games, that's kind of the albatross that they wear around their neck. That's the thing that everybody says, oh, the obtuse puzzles. Like that's what a point and click adventure game is. Anybody who's ever played a Monkey Island, one of the early Monkey Island games, or like
those
Gabriel
are notorious for that. Yeah,
Gabriel Knight 2, I think, has one of the most infamous ones where it's just like, how would you ever think to do this?
Dude, I haven't heard the name Gabriel Knight since the 90s. Shit, but, I forgot about those games.
Amnesia never gets that bad.
No,
there's never like some obtuse combination that you need to do. Yeah. Like it's very clear kind of what items you're supposed to combine, and there's no like, there's just a few times where like
you'll have to pull up like your notes or like diaries or something like where they're like in the machine when you're trying to start the machine to get the elevator working. Like you have to refer to your notes a couple times. Okay, what goes here and what goes there. But sometimes it's just like in the cistern, you're just like, well, let's just mirror both sides. And if they're both at the same thing, all these things are the same height, maybe that works. But it's very much like just try stuff out. You will, if you think you can do it in this game, you probably can.
For the most part. And overall, I like the puzzles.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I think the formula is a little rough here because it's one of their first games. It's not as refined as like Soma is, but like the puzzles overall, they're fun, they're moody, they're engaging, they're like they feel, none of them is like out of place. Mm-hmm. So it never takes you out of the game. It all keeps you immersed.
And it's like talking about the game. It's like, well, where are we going to have the scares? It's like we're just putting all this stuff into the players still will scares themselves, and it's such a good idea.
I think the only other thing I can say, and this is kind of a funny complaint to have about a horror game, it's because the game is so dark. It can be difficult. It can be literally difficult to see some important quest items because most of the items are highlighted in blue, so you can easily pick them out in the dark. But there are some puzzle items like pipes and gears that you need to pick up that are not. So there's a few, like I had to eventually just adjust the brightness in the game because I could not see, and I don't see well, so I understand this problem is worse for me than it will probably be for other players. But like,
I had to turn up the brightness at some point.
It was a little much. It was a little much.
I had to turn up the brightness at some point.
In a game that's already like a point and click adventure game where you spend a lot of time wandering around a room, brainstorming and looking through your inventory and checking everything to see if you've missed something to try and crack a puzzle. Having the game be too dark that you can't see some of the items you need for those puzzles is a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and also, like, I think that could be chalked up to this just being their first kind of...
Being an early attempt at it. Yeah, because they do get... and Soma does not have this problem.
Right, yeah. Soma, they correct a lot of that in Machine for Pigs, and definitely by the time it gets to Rebirth and Bunker, it's a lot more polished. But yeah, like the puzzles are fun. I love the story stuff. And it's all like revealed to you like in Dracula, like in like letters and telegrams and diaries.
What is that called? Epistological? Is that what that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that, but it is all in letters and journal entries and notes.
Right. You don't really experience what happened in the castle as you're going through it. Like all of the story pretty much happened beforehand. So it like I said, it is like just playing through a gothic horror novel, and like I said, it's the story, the lore is really good. It's really,
it's in terms of gameplay, it's well implemented.
Yeah.
They always place a note at the right place where you need to pick it up and read it, and the room you're currently sitting there reading it in is perfectly. Moody, perfectly attuned to what it is you're reading, and vice versa. So it's implemented well as a gameplay element.
And I like how they give you that shock when you suddenly remember something as well. So I mean, like
you gain a little bit of your sanity meter back too. So it's like your mind is coming back as you're gaining these memories.
Yeah, it's just very, very cool the way they did everything.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Well, listen, I don't have anything else. I'm done desecrating these corpses.
I still got a couple more pockets I could go through.
The game over screen. I wish they fucking robbed you. No, they took my stuff.
Yourself.
The shadow is just chasing you down to take your watch.
It's just dressed like the Hamburglar.
Pushes you down and rips your sneakers off.
Hits you with a blackjack. A sock of quarters.
Just find a journal entry. It's like I owe the shadow fucking money.
Yeah, the whole thing with the shadow is just like you. He's just a mugger.
Yeah, you welched on a Super Bowl bet. He's coming to tap your knees with a bat.
Oh man, were that the case?
Where do we go after this?
Oh man! Well,
I'm experiencing a little amnesia.
Yeah, we follow the trail out, and now this is the part where we, grade the horror and grade the gameplay.
Ah, yes, this is where we count up all our bones and spookaboos.
Yeah, this is where we hand out spookaboos and bones. The first is the spookaboo, where we grade the horror of the game. and I'm interested to see what I know what I'm giving this game, but I'm interested to see what you have first as far as the spooks.
I'm paralyzed with fear now, much like the first time I played this game.
Because there is a wrong answer, and you will suffer if you give it.
Man, I feel like 10 years ago I would have said 10.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago I might have even said 10. But I have to I can't only go by my experience from initially playing it. I also have to factor in my experience of actually playing it all the way through and beating it this time.
Got to account for inflation.
I got to adjust for inflation.
Yeah.
Amnesia bucks don't spend like they used to.
No.
Man, I think I might have to actually give this maybe a 7.
Ooh, it's far lower. Far lower.
7
than I was gonna go.
spookaboos. Seven spookaboos out of 10 a booze is not bad.
Well, yeah,
It's a 70%. 70% spooky.
70%. I don't know, man.
It does feel a little bit low.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give it. Oh man, I'm torn because I think you're right. Because I have to grade it against other scary games that I've played, like Evil Within, like Alien Isolation, all these other games that, yes, like games like Alien Isolation has borrowed heavily from it. But, it is a product of 13 years ago. So I'm going to give it an 8 on the scary side. I was torn between an 8 and a 9. I'm going to give it an 8. God. But I'm
80%
so torn
spooky.
on that. I'm so torn on that because they do such a good fucking job of scaring you with basically nothing.
Yeah, it's a great haunted house and a very fun. Well, that's going to be the next thing actually.
And it dares you to play it too, which it
really does. I love that. That never occurred to me that Carnival Barker shit at the beginning of the turn off the lights and put on your headphones. Okay, man.
Yeah, turn off all the lights. Tell your
Fasten
family.
your fright belts.
Yeah.
Sure
Tell
do.
your family that you love them first.
Kiss your loved ones goodbye.
You have to sign a waiver. Did you sign the Amnesia waiver? But yeah, I think, oh man, I really tempted to give it a 9, but I think to be fair, we have to give it an 8 just because. Yeah,
sure, it's It's plenty spooky. It's plenty spooky.
It's plenty spooky. It's plenty spooky.
Yeah.
All right.
Now let me count up my bones,
How many bones
for the
you have in
gameplay.
that bone bucket?
I think I'm also gonna give him 7. 7 little bones. 7 little bonies. 7 and 7. Yeah, I think I love this style of gameplay. Like I said, I love the point and click adventure style. I love the story first aspect of it. I like the atmosphere. I like cosmic horror. The gothic novel aspects of it. All the story beats are there, and the actual gameplay of doing the puzzles is fun. And I honestly can see myself playing through this game again, because the puzzles are actually fun to do, and it's fun to re-experience the story as you're playing it.
Right.
But it's not great. It's not the most polished version of this. Said some of the puzzles are a little bit too unnecessarily obtuse. There's some jankiness with the presentation. So I'm gonna give it 7 bones. 70% bony.
I'm also gonna give it 7. I think that's a fair assessment. Just because, it's a fun, and like I said, are
you just copying me because you have amnesia?
Yes. I don't know I don't even know what game we're talking about anymore. What is this? Is this Kingdom Hearts? Are we talking about Kingdom Hearts?
Maybe. The stories are not dissimilar.
Is this Galaga? What is this?
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, you're fine. But
very stupid joke.
No, it's fine. It was better than the jokes I was throwing out at the beginning of this. Christ.
No, don't worry. I cut all those out.
Okay, great. No, you can leave it. It just remind me of my hubris. Tom's like, I'm going to leave this in you so you remember who the real humorist is here. Make sure you don't do that again. But the 7, because it's kind of bare bones. There's not really a lot to it. Really, and I don't think the draw of this game really is the gameplay. Like, I know that we said, like, last time with Her Story, there's not a lot to that gameplay either, but the way they use it fits so well with what they're trying to do. And this one is just like, well, we can't just have you walk through a haunted house. This isn't Layers of Fear, so we're going to go ahead and, like, you know, put some actual gameplay in here. And, you know, I think it takes its foot off the gas in some points that they need to. They kind of realized that they needed to do that, you know, with the despawning of enemies. They're like, all right, that's enough of that. Go ahead and play the game. We're not gonna corner you in this fucking castle and not let you play. But yeah, I could have done with actually a few more puzzles. A few more. I always like puzzles in games. So,
that's true. Yeah,
you know.
there is that is a little bit light. Some of it is just kind of running back and forth.
Yeah, what gameplay in there is good. In my opinion, there could just be more of it. And that's why I kind of put it at a 7. Even though, like I said, I love these games with all my heart.
We've reached the edge of the boneyard
and the haunted Blockbuster.
The haunted Blockbuster at the edge of Vincent Price's estate.
I don't know why he owns one of these.
It just appeared here one day. It's what happens.
Ooh, 2 for 1 candy.
He attracts dead things.
Well, I'm gonna buy 2 boxes of Mike and Ike's from the skeleton then.
I mean, at that price, how can you afford not to?
I know.
This is our final section, of course, is whether or not you should buy the VHS.
Oh, they're from 1995. Shit.
Please tell me whether or not I should just buy this VHS.
Because every Mike and Ike is from 1985. This is the section where we tell you whether or not if this game deserves to be added to your VHS collection of horror films,
the old cabinet
so to speak.
Of curiosities you keep in your house.
Yeah,
Does this go in there?
Does this get slapped on the shelf or not? Should it be one of the treasured VHS cassettes of a horror fan's library?
Yeah. Does this come on sleepover horror nights? Do you play this?
Do you bring it with you? Yeah.
Do you bring it with you? Like a teddy bear from home.
Yeah, no, yeah. In that case, the Jaws VHS with my teddy bear.
Oh, I know.
I brought that on many a sleepover.
Yeah. Have you seen this shit that's been out since 1975?
You'd be surprised at how often the answer was no when I was 7 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of 7-year-olds have seen Jaws 50 times, it turns out.
Yeah.
I think, yes, definitely you should buy this VHS. It's a good, moody horror adventure. Like, it's just fun. And it's spooky and grotesque and scary and stressful in all the right places. Like I said, I can see the appeal of a second playthrough. Like, the puzzles are fun enough to do. In addition to just being brain teasers that kind of tax you in the moment, they're like the actual manipulation of the environment to perform the task of the puzzle is like fun, and it's part of the story, and because it's like part of actually like physically manipulating the narrative for it, it's like a rewarding experience. It's fun, not a chore to do. It was fun to play. Scary as hell the first couple of times, but even when that sort of part of it goes away, it's still just like a fun gothic adventure with an interesting, crazy lore behind it that is not at all what I would have expected this game to end up in. Like, beginning this game, could not have anticipated that this is where the story goes.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I have to buy this, of course. Like I said, like spoilers, I know at the beginning, but you know, I love these games. I love all of them with all my heart. They are staples for any horror gamer's diet, I would think.
Yep. Staples in Frankenstein's forehead.
Yep, the staples in Frankenstein's forehead. Exactly, Tom. The vitae they need to extract.
I bet they could make a Frankenstein, those otherworld fuckers.
Yeah, I'm sure that. Well, they have them.
They kind of technically did those things.
They have them shuffling around the goddamn castle.
That's right. They're just like freaky deaky looking Frankensteins.
But yeah,
I guess Frankenstein can be freaky deaky. Anyway, sorry.
You can go back through, and I keep wanting to go back through and it's like, did I miss any of the notes? Did I miss any of the diaries? Like, go try to find out more about this like world and stuff. And it got me so hooked, and I was like, oh, man, I want to play the rest of these games. And they're all dope. Like, The Bunker just came out. Tom, you need to play that shit. It's fucking dope. Yeah, that's great game. Great game. Needs to go put it up on the board. Survey says Amnesia.
Sweet.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, I think that's it. We've done it. We've accomplished our agreed upon task.
What did we do?
I don't remember.
Oh, fuck.
It feels like we're finished, though.
Wait a minute. Whose pants am I wearing? Guys, thank you so much for listening. Tom, where can they find you? Tell them about stuff.
If you want, you can head over to patreon.com/gameplayunemployed to check out our Patreon, where we have all kinds of cool, exclusive podcasts you can get access to for just $5 a month, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. We have tiers where you can get your own custom podcast about just about anything you want. We have all sorts of things. We have a great Discord community full of awesome people. So check that out. And we also have a store. Head over to gameplayunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store. We have cool original artwork and designs you can get on all sorts of different things like t-shirts and mugs and stuff. So check that out. And find us on the socials. Yes. We're just on Twitter right now. We're going to hopefully find a new home someplace soon. But for now, it's on Twitter at GameFleeUn.
And you? A2?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
You can find me on Twitter if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, just look for him. You can also find me online at Twitter and now at Blue Sky, both at Johnny Rhymes. So at Johnny Rhymes will take you to where you need to go to find me on either of those platforms.
Do it. All right. Let's get out of here.
All right. This transaction, I think, is completed. So
I think so. We better leave before the shadow gets here, though.
So you got got a book. Wait, where are we running from?
I don't know, but it feels scary.
I don't know, but it's scary, and I gotta go.
Our episode artwork is provided by Doc Garby. You can follow him on Twitter at _JDBurrows_. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. You can find more of his artwork at instagram.com/mvbramleyart.